The relationship didn't end, it just faded into background noise. The conversations are functional, not intimate. The touches are automatic, not affectionate. You sit on the same couch watching the same shows, but you're not really together. You're just two people who've forgotten how to connect, going through the motions of a relationship that died so quietly nobody noticed it was happening. Welcome to Unfiltered Adulthood, where we explore the quiet psychological shifts that reshaped you in your 20s, 30s, and 40s. If this resonates, subscribe and hit like. She wakes up next to him every morning. The same bed, the same routine, the same predictable rhythm. He's already scrolling through his phone. She's planning the day in her head. They exchange a few words about logistics. Who's picking up the kids? What's for dinner? Whether the bill got paid. And then they go their separate ways until the evening repeats the cycle. There's no conflict. No tension. Just a quiet, comfortable distance that neither of them acknowledges. He doesn't remember when they stopped kissing goodbye. It wasn't a conscious decision. It just stopped happening. First it became rushed. Then optional. Then forgotten entirely. The same thing happened with holding hands, with surprise gestures, with asking how the other person's day actually went beyond the surface level fine. The intimacy eroded so gradually that by the time either of them noticed, rebuilding it felt like more effort than maintaining the status quo. This is what happens when a relationship becomes a routine. It doesn't announce itself with drama or betrayal. It settles in quietly, disguised as stability. The early days, when everything felt exciting and new, give way to a comfortable predictability. And at first, that predictability feels good. It feels safe. Like you've finally found your rhythm together. But somewhere along the way, rhythm becomes monotony. And monotony becomes disconnection. She looks at him across the dinner table and realizes they haven't had a real conversation in weeks. Maybe months. They talk, sure. But it's all surface. Schedules and responsibilities and mundane logistics. Nothing that requires vulnerability or depth. Nothing that reminds them why they chose each other in the first place. And when she tries to go deeper, when she asks him what he's thinking or how he's feeling, the answers are short and deflective. Not because he's hiding something, but because they've both forgotten how to let each other in. He notices it too. The way they move around each other like choreographed dancers who performed the same routine so many times they don't need to think about it anymore. Morning coffee while she gets ready. Evening TV while he checks work emails. Bedtime at different hours because their schedules don't align and neither of them has made the effort to sync them. It's efficient. It's peaceful. But it's empty. The irony is brutal. They spent so much energy in the beginning trying to make the relationship work. Navigating differences, resolving conflicts, building something together. And now that it works, now that they've eliminated most of the friction, there's nothing left. The relationship functions, but it doesn't feel like anything. It's a machine running smoothly with no one inside. She wonders when they became roommates instead of partners. There wasn't a moment. It was a slow drift that happened over years. Life got busy. Work demands increased. Kids arrived and consumed every available minute. The relationship got deprioritized, not intentionally, but inevitably. There was always something more urgent. Always something that needed attention right now. And the relationship, being the most stable thing in their lives, got left on autopilot. But autopilot doesn't sustain connection. It sustains structure. And structure without connection is just going through the motions. The goodnight kiss becomes a habit devoid of meaning. The I love you becomes a reflex rather than a feeling. The physical proximity creates the illusion of closeness while the emotional distance grows wider every day. He thinks about saying something. About telling her he feels it too. That the relationship has become something neither of them intended. But every time he considers it, the words feel too heavy. Too risky. What if bringing it up makes it worse? What if naming the problem destroys the peace they've carefully maintained? So he stays quiet. And she stays quiet. And the silence between them becomes louder than any conversation they're not having. The strangest part is that they're not unhappy. At least not in any way that feels urgent or actionable. They're not fighting. They're not resentful. They're just coexisting. And coexistence feels easier than the alternative, which would require admitting that something fundamental has changed and doing the work to rebuild what's been lost. She scrolls through old photos and barely recognizes the couple in them. The way they looked at each other. The ease in their body language. The joy that didn't need to be performed. That version of them felt things deeply. Laughed freely. Took risks with each other. But that version existed before life got complicated. Before responsibilities piled up and exhaustion became the default state. Before the relationship became one more thing to manage rather than something that energizes them. He remembers the early days when talking to her was the best part of his day. When he'd find excuses to text her, to hear her voice, to be near her. Now his phone buzzes with her name and it's always logistics. Can you grab milk on the way home? Don't forget about the appointment tomorrow. Did you call the insurance company? The practical necessities of shared life with none of the intimacy that made sharing a life feel worthwhile. And here's the painful truth. Both of them feel it. Both of them know the relationship has become hollow. But neither knows how to say it without sounding like they're giving up. So they maintain the illusion. They show up for family events and smile in photos. They introduce each other to new people with warmth in their voice. They perform the role of a functioning couple while privately wondering if this is just what long-term relationships become. The relationship didn't fail. It just faded. And fading feels harder to address than failing because there's no clear problem to solve. No betrayal to forgive. No moment to point to and say this is where it went wrong. Just a slow erosion of connection that happened while they were both too busy, too tired, too overwhelmed to notice. She thinks about leaving sometimes. Not because she doesn't love him, but because she's not sure what they're holding on to anymore. A history? A commitment? The fear of starting over. But leaving would require energy she doesn't have. And it would disrupt a life that, on paper, works perfectly well. So she stays. And he stays. And they continue the routine, two people sharing a space but not a life. But routine isn't sustainable indefinitely. At some point, one of them will hit a breaking point. A moment where the emptiness becomes too loud to ignore. Where maintaining the facade feels more exhausting than confronting the truth. And when that moment comes, they'll have a choice. To let the relationship die quietly the way it's been dying. Or to do the uncomfortable work of resurrecting something they're not sure can be saved. What they don't realize yet is that relationships don't die from conflict. They die from neglect. From taking each other for granted. From assuming that because the structure is intact, the connection must be too. But connection requires attention. It requires effort. It requires showing up not just physically but emotionally, over and over, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. She makes the first move. Not a grand gesture, but a small one. She asks him to go for a walk. No phones. No distractions. Just them. He hesitates, surprised by the request, but agrees. And as they walk, the silence between them feels different. Not comfortable, but pregnant with possibility. Like they're both waiting to see who will be brave enough to speak first. He starts. Not with accusations or complaints, but with honesty. I miss you. 3 words that crack open the armor they've both been wearing. And she responds not with defensiveness but with relief. Me too. And suddenly, the conversation they've been avoiding for months, maybe years, starts to happen. It's awkward. It's painful. But it's real. They don't fix everything in one conversation. Reconnection doesn't work that way. But they start. They acknowledge that the relationship became a routine and neither of them wanted it to be. They admit that they stopped trying because trying felt too hard. And they decide, tentatively, to try again. Not to go back to who they were, but to figure out who they can be now. The relationship that became a routine doesn't have to stay that way. But saving it requires both people to stop going through the motions and start showing up. To choose each other again, not out of obligation but out of genuine desire to rebuild what's been lost. To remember that love isn't just a feeling that happens to you. It's a practice. A daily decision. A commitment to keep connecting even when disconnection feels easier. They're not fixed. But they're trying. And sometimes, trying is enough to turn background noise back into a song worth listening to.